Hello listeners, and welcome to the preview of the third test between Sri Lanka and Australia 2012-2013. I'm joined by Mike and Joe from the subreddit, and they'll be giving us their opinions about what to expect from Australia and Sri Lanka in this upcoming match. Hey fellas.
G'day, Sonny.
Hello.
Alright, first question. The big news that came out of this during the break between the tests was that Hussey is going to be retiring after this particular test. I know he's been a great batsman for Australia, probably started a little bit late. But Joe, what do you think about that?
I think it's a shame that he'll be leaving so soon. You know, he's still got a few good years in him, judging by his form from this series, and he's been one of our best batsmen, you know, if not just this series, in the last few years after coming out of a form slump. So it's going to be he's really bolstered that middle and low order, and it's going to be a big issue replacing him. Even if Usman Khawaja comes in, you know, there really is no one like Mike Hussey. So I'm going to miss him. He's a really great bloke, or at least he seems like it. And yeah, so I think we're all going to be missing Gusset.
Gusset, indeed. Mike, Sangakkara is out for this match too. Looks like he broke a hand and is not going to be taking any particular part in this match. So what do you think? Who do you think is going to replace him, and how does the batting lineup look for this next test?
Well, following Sangakkara's injury, Lairu Thirumanni has been drafted into the squad. So it looks as though Thirumanni will take over the specialist batsman position that Sangakkara was occupying. What effect this will have, we're not really sure. The batting has overall been very disappointing from Sri Lanka, and with nothing left to lose or gain, I mean, the series is lost. This game is purely academic. So this could be a blessing in disguise. Sangakkara can rest up, and this will be an opportunity for the younger players to show what they're made of when not much is expected of them. Australia still wants to push for a whitewash. These are foreign conditions, and the batting has largely been written off. So this could be an opportunity for the younger, less star players to show what they're made of.
Gotcha. Now, on the other hand, the man who broke Sangakkara's hand was Mitchell Johnson, and he had a scintillating test. He scored 92 runs in the first innings, and he took a whole bunch of wickets. So, Joe, I know you used to lampoon Mitchell Johnson quite a bit.
Everybody used to lampoon Mitchell Johnson.
That's true. But what do you think? Can they afford to leave him out for the third test, or do you think he's going to be there at the bowling attack? And also, if you could touch on Bird for a little bit, who made his debut in this second match.
Yeah, it was a good match for both of them. Mitchell Johnson continues to surprise everybody. I don't know if he's surprising everybody. To an extent, we kind of expect this from Johnson, to be incredibly impressive at times, and then we'll have to see if that slump follows, because we know that there are definitely two sides to Johnson. I think the news is that he'll play in Sydney, and that Jackson Bird will make way for Mitchell Starc, which I get that some people don't like, because Starc and Johnson do seem to be a little bit similar in that they're both left-armers, they're both strike bowlers, and so we'll have to see how that goes. I would have liked to see Jackson Bird retain his place, maybe taking Peter Siddle's spot to give him a rest. Because Bird did have a good first match. He on show were his the skills that we know he's very good for in the Sheffield Shield, and that he's very good at hitting the right line and length, in a similar way to McGrath did. he gets a little bit of movement off the pitch, and I think in the wickets that he did get in Melbourne, those aspects were very much on show, and I think they'll come in handy in Sydney. But unfortunately, I think he'll have to wait a little bit longer until his next test.
Gotcha. Now, if really quickly, could you touch on which four bowlers you think are going to make the bowling attack for the next test?
Yeah, so it should be Siddle, Johnson, Stark, and Lyon. I think was the news.
All right. And Michael,
Mhm.
could you touch upon the possible lineup for Sri Lanka for this next test?
Well, given the injury to Wallagadara, I think it was, Saranga Lakmal has been called in as a replacement bowler, so they'll have Lakmal. Turamani, as I said, is replacing Sangakkara. I'm not sure what the plan is for Prasanna Jayawardene. He fills the role of a specialist wicketkeeper, but also a usually competent batsman. I say usually because he hasn't had a good series. So in lieu of that, obviously Sangakkara cannot do anything. I believe Tilkaratne Dilshan might actually be an alternative because he does keep wickets and he has kept in tests before. So I imagine the playing 11 will be the usual suspects: Thirumani in for Sangakkara, Lakmal in for Wallagadara, and possibly Dilshan covering as wicketkeeper.
What about Dinesh Chandimal taking the gloves? Because I think he's done that before.
I think he has done that before, and actually, I remember Joe and I talked about this in the last podcast. Chandimal is often touted as one of Sri Lanka's future batsmen, as a specialist batsman or a replacement substitute wicketkeeper, but Sri Lanka cricket is keeping Chandimal. I think they still want to blood him in ODIs a bit more before they expose him to tests, and so that's why as much as he's been playing ODIs recently and as much as he's been performing, he hasn't yet landed a permanent test position. So depending on how he performs in the 2020s and ODIs after this test series, he may be a part of the test squad, but for now I think they want to make sure he can prove his worth in limited overs first.
Gotcha. Joe, I'm going to ask the same question to you. What's your predicted 11 for the next test?
I've given you my bowlers. I think the news from this morning is that Clark is fit and will lead. I think the only change will be Shane Watson out of the side, so that leaves the number 4 position open for Michael Clark to move up into, and Hussey will go to 5. And I think also Wade will move up to 6, with Glenn Maxwell, the all-rounder, to come in at number 7. So he'll be making his debut, and that's very exciting. I think Clark also moving up to 4 is a bit of a big deal, considering how much talk there's been of people wanting Clark to move up the order, even to number 3. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there, considering in the past he hasn't done so well at number 4. So hopefully it goes well. I think it'll be a good test of a young batting lineup, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
That's really interesting that you mentioned that, and that brings me to the last question that I was going to put to you. With Hussey retiring and with Ponting gone, and there was talk of Clark not being there, there was obviously going to be a leadership vacuum in the Australian lineup. It's a good thing that Clark's going to be there for this particular match. But if he wasn't there, who do you think is the next leader in making for this particular team?
And if Shane Watson was out as well, I think for this test, Hussey would probably lead. Given that it's his last test, I think it would be a good send-off. But after that, if Clark and Watson are away, there is definitely a big leap down to the next most senior player. I think the people with the most games are probably Siddle and Johnson, and I'm not sure that they're very good leadership candidates, being fiery fast bowlers. I think they were talking about kind of fostering leadership qualities in Dave Warner and Ed Cowan. And for me, I think David Warner has to probably be the next man on the list of leaders, because he has led the Sydney Thunder. He's been vice captain in some Australian limited overs games, and I think he does have those leadership qualities, even if he's a bit rash at the moment. I think he'll develop those qualities, and I think Australia's priorities need to be on him as well, because Ed Cowan, for me, has still not proved that he's a long-term option. So, yeah, Warner's mine now.
All right, Michael, I'm going to ask you a very similar question. With Sangakkara not there, and this probably being Jayawardene's last test as captain, do you feel that there's a similar leadership vacuum in the Sri Lankan team? And what do you think they're going to do about this?
Well, this is definitely Jayawardene's last test, or I believe his last game as captain. Um, so the team and the management have obviously been grooming Angelo Matthews as the future captain. I think it's a good idea. It surprised me at first, but over the years, Matthews has shown he does have a cool head. I don't know how good he is as a strategist, but he has proved very handy um, uh, guiding the tail, because he does bat in the middle. So in limited overs games, he has proven he's got a cool head. He's a good finisher. He hasn't really had to. On occasion, he's shown that in tests, but I do hope that, given the essential disarray that the batting is in now, I hope this doesn't put too much pressure on him, because he is still looked to as a premier all-rounder. He bats very well, he bowls tidily, and he's a great fielder. So I think with Jayawardene stepping down and Sangakkara out of the picture for at least a month or so, it does fall to Matthews. Dilshan does have experience both as a player and as a captain, but um, he did have a bad run as a captain, and I don't think he has any intention of picking that up again. So, if for some reason Matthews is incapacitated, Dilshan is always there just to pick up the slack. But I think everybody in Sri Lankan cricket is hoping that Matthews is the one who takes the ball and runs with it, given that after the World Cup, Sri Lanka did have a revolving door of captains. Sangakkara stepped down. We had Dilshan. Dilshan didn't work out. Jayawardene came back in, and Jayawardene has done a great job in his second stint. But with him out of with him stepping away, all the attention is now on Angelo Matthews.
Interesting. Well, thanks for answering my questions, guys. That's it for this edition of Sniffing Leather. We'll talk to you next time.